1-800-LAW-1010, 1-800-LAW-1010.com. Paul Harding from Martin Harding Mazzotti on the phone.
You opening up tomorrow, Paul?
We do. We go back into the office. We've been open, remote, but now we get to see each other and get back to some sense of normalcy.
Bring some donut holes for the folks that you pay.
Yeah.
Paul, but donut holes and maybe some snacks.
Was this your call, or were you waiting for the official phase 2, which is what tomorrow is?
Yeah, tomorrow's the official phase 2, and, we can come back. We're going to do it a little incrementally, do it safely, take our time, but all in all, when I kind of surveyed everybody's just fired up. They are just looking to get back, and a little surprised by the overwhelming response. I thought there'd be some, folks who just wanted to kind of enjoy being home, but apparently home isn't necessarily as much fun as they thought it was going to be. Yeah.
Now, you're a professional who runs an above-board business, so you won't do what we're doing here. Quinn and I are putting money down on who gained the most quarantine weight when we all come back. I put my money on me, so.
Not a chance. Someone's going to roll in here, and I mean roll in here.
All right, so we've got attorney Paul Harding on the line to explain to us why we keep reading that it's harder to convict a police officer than it is an everyday average citizen. Why is that?
Well, I think first juries are generally sympathetic to the daily challenges faced by police officers, right? They're always kind of inserting themselves in a situation that's already hostile, and things can spin out of control. So statistically, yes, it is more difficult to convict a police officer than it would be someone else who committed a similar act.
What are some of the specifics that we're talking about here, you guys? Like things that I would be able to not do, whereas a police officer would be able to do.
A police officer in a certain position would be able to use lethal force, right? Something we don't get the benefit of.
We don't get the benefit of that. So, just imagine that, you're just going to you're never going to effectuate an arrest, right? You're never going to insert yourself or probably, into a situation that's already combustible. So they're going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and then whether or not they can use the lethal force really is the question. And, of course, this, spinning off what's happening all over the country right now, that video that is going to be, everybody looks at that and says, wow, there's just no chance that, charges should be easy. Charges should be easy not only to file, but to convict. And as you look into this, probably so. But, these things are never a layup.
I don't need a conviction, but Sheriff Apple was supposed to be on the show earlier this morning, and I'd like to go out and give him a citizen's arrest. I don't need a conviction. You can toss it out. I don't care what happens.
I think when it comes to George Floyd, I think whatever happened in that SUV, there's something that goes on in the SUV that the defense will be able to use that to their advantage.
Yeah,
that's the one part that wasn't on video right there.
They've been to this rodeo before,
But just to reiterate, this conviction of the cop in Minneapolis is not a slam dunk. We feel like it should be, but it's not, right?
Well, what he's charged with is a second and third degree murder, which doesn't require intent, right? It requires sort of this reckless act. Like if you shoot your gun into a crowd, you didn't mean to kill anybody, but the act is so reckless and resulted in someone's death, you can be held, for that death.
And what's that? 12 years? That's like 12 years for three, right? Yeah.
Probably 12 to 15 if he's convicted, and but at this point, they're going to be being very careful, and if the state charges don't hold up, there's always the federal charges. But if we look at history, we look at Eric Gardner in New York City, of course, way back, Rodney King in L.A., and of course, Freddie Gray recently in Baltimore. In all those instances, they saw some things that they thought the police used excessive force, and in all those cases, the police were never charged with a crime.
Minneapolis is my hometown. I had no idea they're like the choke-out capital of the world. That's amazing.
Is there any chance, and we'll let you go, Paul, that it gets moved up to murder one for this cop?
You can't. He'd have to have intent, right?
Yeah, you'd have to have intent. You'd have to prove a lot more. And, of course, that's when trouble could kick in. If they overcharge, which people wanted him to do the murder one, and then he's found not guilty of murder one.
Got it.
Well, then it'll just look like, justice has not been served, even though really technically that is not a great charge to bring when somebody's subduing a suspect.
But if they go to his house and find a bunch of swastikas and white power stuff,
you can have intent.
Maybe that is the intent.
But intent doesn't have to be 24 hours in advance. You can have intent 10 seconds in advance, right?
Well, the 10 seconds gets you into that manslaughter, like if you just kind of get fired up. You walk in and somebody...
Emotional.
But it does require a little more time. But, these guys, they're finding now they work together at the same club. They may or may not have known each other. So, because they're doing security at a bar. And so we'll see. But my guess is we're going to have this second-degree murder. And I'm looking at this thinking, it would just be sort of difficult to imagine that he would not be found guilty. But I've been surprised before.
All right. Well, listen, good luck opening up tomorrow, and thanks for the time this morning.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Don't forget the donuts.
All right.
1-800-LAW-1010, 1-800-LAW1010.com.